All
Lighting.
right, we are live. We are live here with the mayor of San Mateo, Rob
Hey,
Newsom.
great to be here, Bert. How are you?
Fantastic. Well, hey, a lot of people don't know this, but you and I first met seems like a lifetime ago. What has it
It
been like
was.
25 years ago? Pre-kids,
That's right.
pre-wives.
That's right.
You guys
Yeah.
had the best St. Patty's Day parties.
And we still do have that St. Patrick's Day party. So you got to make sure you join us this year.
Oh man, I would love to.
Yeah, for sure.
Just sentimental reasons I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. You played softball with my housemate back in the day. So that
That's
was
right.
how we first came to know you. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was a team thing or what, but they always referred to you as Bert, B-U-R-T, Bert. And it was funny because I told my wife I was doing this interview and she's with who? I said, Bert. And she goes, oh, do you mean B-U-R-T Bert? And I'm like, yes. I don't know where that came from or if that was even just a softball team thing that you guys did, but yes. As soon as I said B-U-R-T Bert, my wife's like, oh, hey, it's Bert. I said hi. So
That's hilarious. I totally forgot about that, to tell you
yeah,
the truth.
like I said, I don't remember. I think it was Dennis's girlfriend at the time used to call you that, and it just stuck with my wife. Like that's how she has you, cataloged away. It's like
That's funny. Well, hey, but speaking of the old days, what I remember of you, you were an avid biker.
yeah,
And like when all that Lance Armstrong stuff happened, I was really thinking of you because, you know, did that disappoint you? Because he must have been kind of like up there in your
it
athlete
was
list.
brutal. He was a huge idol of mine, and then he wasn't. Just terribly disappointing what he did. He could have stood on his own merit, but by cheating and using steroids, he destroyed a whole era of people that loved professional cycling. It was really sad when that happened, and I'm still not over it. I mean, I watch the Tour de France usually a little, but it's not like back in the day when I used
Right.
to watch every stage and be glued to the TV. And of course, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So do you bike still?
I do not nearly as much because you can tell fatherhood and job and city council have make it hard to bike like I used to. But I still use biking to get around town, and I still try to make sure that we keep San Mateo and continue to make San Mateo as bike friendly as possible. We've got some projects coming in the next year to kind of do that. We've also had some projects that were done in the past for bicycle lanes and that didn't go well. And so we're now as a city trying to look and say, okay, how do we correct? It's we've got some bike lanes along Humboldt that are very controversial. So,
Interesting.
but we're doing the outreach with the community, and I think we'll listen and take feedback and make corrections in the new year, and that's going to make people happy. So,
Well, we're going to talk shop. We're going to talk shop
yeah.
in a little bit. I wanted the people to actually, at least the people that follow me, to really get to know you a little bit. I mean, the way I do, right? Because I've always had really fond memories of hanging out with you and just on a personal level. So maybe you can kind of start with why the heck did you decide to run for city council to begin with?
Yeah, glutton, I think. Glutton for punishment. I started originally in 2017. Then, unfortunately, while I was running then, my wife had a health scare. And that was only shortly after we'd lost my father and my father-in-law, both in a very short, within like 8 months' time. And so that and then my wife having a health scare really made it difficult to really participate in campaigning. And so I did participate in the debates, and I placed fifth, and fifth out of the five. There was 3 open seats at the time in 2017, and I placed fifth. But I was very proud of the fact that I spent about $600, and the person who took fourth spent $13,000, and I was like, he only beat me for fourth place by less than 150 votes, and I thought if I had really campaigned, I could have won. And then my wife went through and recovered fully, and we were happy and healthy happy, and she was healthy, and I kind of got busy with my work life, and then 2 years ago, district elections came to be for the city of San Mateo, and I was very active in the Sunnybrae Neighborhood Association. I was our vice president for the neighborhood association, and I had our new District 3 has 5 really active neighborhood. They used to be homeowners, now they're considered neighborhood associations, and they all kind of got together and said, well, who's going to run? And the fact that I had run successfully with spending no money meant people thought, well, geez, if he could come that close to winning without spending any money, and think about what he could do if he spent a little money. Right. So I campaigned for about 6 months, and I was really proud of the fact that all the neighborhood associations in District 3 all supported me, and I came out victorious, and it was great. Then we had some challenges when I first came on the council, which I don't want to go into very much, but
that's all right.
If you want to look it up, it was scandalous at the time, but eventually things worked out. We appointed a new council member to fill outgoing council member Pappin's seat. She went on to be on the state assembly. Rich Hedges came on, and we had a very, our first year as a new council 2 years ago was very rough. But then by the time we hit last year with under the tutelage of Mayor Diaz-Nash, things really kind of smoothed out, and we had a very good year, and we got a lot done as a council. And then this year, I helped both the Young Women campaign for districts 5 and 1, and is that right? No, 2 and 4. I'm sorry.
Miss Fernandez.
Yes, Nicole Fernandez won, which she's got North Shoreview and downtown and North Central. Mm-hmm. And then Danielle Soroco-Kadiki won for Shoreview, the Shoreview neighborhood and Los Prados neighborhoods. And they both are bringing a ton of great new energy. Danielle is only 34, so she's the youngest person to be on the council in at least 35 years. We don't have records of ages of council members, and so when you go and look at the wall and see these council members from the 70s and 80s, you're like, that person could be 60 or they could be 40 or 33. I just don't know. But she's definitely the youngest new council member we've had in like 3 or 4 decades. So, and she and Nicole are both bringing a ton of energy. Nicole's got a lot of background in the public sector. She's currently been working for Senator Becker for quite some time, and she's got a ton of experience going back. So she's really an exciting addition to our team too, because she knows everyone, and anything you'd want to be able to do, either local or county or state level, like she knows who to talk to about everything. So it's like just a fantastic resource. And so between the two of them, just really thrilled to have a very, very happy and functioning council, and looking forward to my year as mayor.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to put in a little plug for myself. I've actually, before she got elected, Miss Fernandez actually came to talk with me on my chat here. And got to know her a little bit. She's awesome. I really enjoy. She's one of the my favorites that I actually chatted with during the election time. So I'm so happy she got
yeah, she's great, and she's going to do great things for her district. She's going to do great things for the city. So, I'm, like I said, I feel like we have a ton of great momentum, and we're going to have a great year. So, what I really loved is, even though the reorg went very long, it was still fun because everybody was upbeat and positive. Everybody's excited for what's to come. So
yeah, I kind of braced myself for some, I didn't know what to expect when I went to the reorg meeting, and I was actually really happy to see everything was so positive. Everyone had such like good vibes, and I loved that. And I'm looking forward to next year, to be perfectly honest. So,
it was funny, like our neighboring city, Foster City, which we share a fire department with, they had their reorg meeting literally at the exact same time. They actually started a half hour earlier, but they were done in 97 minutes, and and we went like 3 hours and 47 minutes. And when we got done, I'm like, I got to figure out how to get like to what they did. Like they had two new council members and two retiring council members too. I don't know what we did wrong. So
Yeah, no, you didn't do anything wrong. You just had a lot of like motivated people. Exactly. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. You guys should be proud of that.
Yeah.
But hey, I want to step back about a little bit because now that you are the mayor, what are some of the things that you are really, what are some of the issues that are going to be important to you?
Sure. Well, I mean, the last maybe call it 6 to 10 years, the city has really, and the state in general have been really stuck on housing numbers and RHNA numbers. And that's because the state of California is putting such pressure on peninsula cities in particular to build. And so that's challenging to us in that these RHNA numbers for the city of San Mateo are extremely high. We've got to get a lot of new units created. And also the city doesn't actually build anything. We rely on developers and companies to actually build here in San Mateo. So what we have to do is foster an environment and such that there's a willingness and an eagerness to build. And of course, the economy in the last year hasn't been helping either. So, we have about 3.5 city blocks that are leveled and dirt and shovel ready, but that are not currently, moving anywhere. And so that's very challenging. And we're hoping that, the tide turns soon, because otherwise, we're going to get 6-7 years out and we're not going to hit the RHNA numbers that this state put for us, and who knows what will happen. But we did push through a housing measure, which was, controversial. Some of my biggest friends are really mad that I participated in helping Measure T get passed. But honestly, passing Measure T does give us the ability to make sure that we have enough inventory to build the required number of units for the state. And so that helps take the pressure off from the state and from lawsuits from some of the housing advocacy groups. So, like I said, it was not very popular. I mean, it passed it with about 59%, but the other 30 or 41% of the people are still pretty upset about it. And so one of my goals this year is going to have to be to smooth things over and to make sure that we just do what we said we're going to do and we don't overreach, because overreach in that would really cost trust, and I have to rebuild trust. So that's one of the things I've got to focus on this year. The other thing really is just getting back to basics. The economy hasn't been helping the city. The city hasn't done a great job in the last 10 years of long-term planning. So we have 2 rec centers that both have failing roofs. We have a police station that has a failing roof. We have a downtown parking structure that person drove into it about 6 months ago, drove into a pillar. And when we started doing a check, we realized the whole structure on First and El Camino wasn't seismically sound. So we had to invest close to $1.5 million to do emergency repairs. And that's only buying us another 10 to 15 years of use out of that facility. So, we've got a ton of projects. We've got 2 failing swimming pools. Both of our swimming pools are in very bad shape. We're hoping to be able to kind of cobble them together to be able to get summer usage out of them this year. But after that, we're going to have to raise funds somehow to be able to do a lot of infrastructure improvements. And, that's always it's always difficult to push through with people, because, people don't want to pay more taxes and they don't want to have, something hitting them in the property tax, bill every year. But the hope is that we can get things back on track. I've said it's not going to be a year that we're going for these huge pie in the sky things. Really, this is going to be a year to try to stabilize us, to try to make sure that we backfill open head count, which we've done a great job. In the last year, we've brought 118 new employees into the city of San Mateo. The city of San Mateo has, with the consolidated fire, about 500 employees. So that's literally like 20% of the workforce is new in the last year. And so we've got that. And now it's really just, getting down to basics of what are the projects that need to be done and how quickly can we get them done. Another big thing for us was last year we were able to pass the Flood Free San Mateo initiative New councilwoman Soroko Kadiki was really instrumental in making that happen. And that has really helped us because it's been 2 years now. And we've had some huge rain and downpour, and we've had no more flooding. When we came into office, and we were only in office, 2 years ago for like 3.5 weeks, and we had the New Year's Eve flooding. We had hundreds of San Mateans that had literally, millions of dollars worth of damage to their homes. And so we've really, really cracked down. Public Works for San Mateo has done a phenomenal job, and we've now got some funding coming in, but it's just a very small amount of funding. And it's, there's the whole lagoon needs to be dredged, and it hasn't been dredged since it was built 50 years ago. It should have been dredged, or at least spot dredged, every 15 years. So when you look at the southern part of the lagoon, which, people used to, I remember, you might even remember when we were young, people used to water ski at that end of the lagoon. Now there's 6 inches of water there instead of 6 feet of water. And so, what that translates to is probably a loss of more than 35% of what the capacity of the lagoon used to be is gone. And so there's a ton of work that has to be done to continue to make sure that we're protected from the future of of where we're headed, which is, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, there's definitely global warming happening. There's definitely environmental changes happening. And even if there weren't, the fact of the matter is the lagoon has lost 35% of its capacity. So when you get torrential rains, you're always at risk of having flooding. And that is not where we want to be as a city. So.
Isn't it crazy? I mean, we both lived in the San Mateo area for decades now. Isn't it crazy? In the last 2 weeks, we've had a tsunami, a tornado warning. I've never heard that in all my years of living here.
No.
Well,
yeah, and then I also sit on the County Office of Emergency Services. I'm the liaison for the city of San Mateo, and we're the largest city in the county. I also sit on the fire board for San Mateo, Foster City, and Belmont Consolidated Fire. And, it was on the one hand, the messaging was great. Like, people knew, like, hey, there's a pending possibility of a tsunami. But on the flip side, it was giving direction that we didn't really want. We didn't want people to start fleeing their homes and going to higher ground in the city of San Mateo. We wanted them to hunker down and stay at home. And so that messaging was difficult. And when we meet again in January, I'm sure that's going to be how do we make sure that the messaging is appropriate for each of the little areas of the peninsula? It's like, if you were in Pacifica or maybe Half Moon Bay, you should be making sure you get away from the coast. But along the bay, like, having people flee, my daughters are both at Aragon High, and my younger daughter said, Dad, they're saying they're going to evacuate us from the school, and they're going to need all the parents to come pick us up. And I said, no, that's not what's going to happen. That's the opposite of, like, Aragon High School is already further up the hill than 2/3 of the city of San Mateo. Like, you're not leaving. And so it was funny. I'm like, tell your teacher to call me, and then or have the principal call me, or call the fire chief, either one. But I'm telling you, we want you to hunker down and stay where you are, and you guys will be fine. And it was still up to the minute of, okay, this is supposed to hit at 12:10, and it was like all the way up until like 10 minutes before 12. It was when they finally gave okay, it's not going to hit. It was a little like, what's about to happen.
Right.
But I was also having flashbacks to 2 years prior when we had the New Year's Eve flooding in San Mateo, and that was brutal. It was really not a great third week of being in office. I had attended 2 meetings. Our mayor at the time was on vacation in Mexico, and all of a sudden it was like, who's running the show? And everybody's like, I don't know. But we learned a lot from it. We successfully reorged our public works department, and also got flood free passed. So the city's in a much better place than it was 2 years ago. And we plan on continuing to be in a good place to be prepared for future risk of weather.
So, I mean, I just want to follow up on that one a little bit, because, I'm in the camp that global warming's happening, rising. We're having, rising tides. And so I guess the question really, because San Mateo has that Shoreview area that pretty much is at sea level. And is there anything else being done to prevent,
Well,
these flooding?
Foster City has put up a seawall,
Right.
and they've finished that just like 4 or 5 months ago, and so that buys us a ton of protection for the city of San Mateo. And then the city of San Mateo obviously has the park where the dump used to be, and so we've got a huge, whether you like it or not, it's a mountain of trash that protects us from flooding. But yeah, we still have some exposed areas kind of in the northern part of Shoreview that we have to look at shoring up and potentially putting a seawall at some point, just to protect the city from, and it's just another thing on the list, but
Yeah.
the hope is that between the work that Foster City did and the fact that we have kind of that already an existing protection, we're hoping that we don't have a lot of exposure, but at some point, yeah, that's got to be addressed as well. It's going to be another multi-million-dollar project that has to happen. So
It's so interesting because I get conflicting information too, because as you know, I'm a realtor, and so when we talk about like the Shoreview area, there's a lot of talk that area is actually coming off of the FEMA map too, of being in the
it is.
flood zone.
Yeah.
So,
Actually, with the work that's been done, based on flood free, and through FEMA, we've gotten all of Shoreview off. The remaining part of the city that is still in the flood map is basically the village, and that's along the end of Laurel Creek there, near Casanova Park. Those are the only ones still in the city of San Mateo that are still on the flood map. The problem there is that the drainage or aqueducts that run underneath the 101 freeway are not large enough to take off to get the right amount of water out. And then when you get into that end of the lagoon, what used to be 6 feet deep is 6 inches of mud flats now. And so that's where we still have a challenge. And, we know it, and we've committed to the village residents that in the next decade, we will get it hopefully addressed and fixed. But it becomes a bigger problem in that we as a city don't control the drainage that goes underneath the 101 freeway. So we've got to appeal to the state to get a very large multi-million-dollar project done, which is, probably not high on their list, but at some point we'll get it done, or we'll have to come up with alternative solutions for it as a city. Can we get another, a flood tank or something that we can be able to offset water when it gets high?
sure.
For right now, that is now the remaining. Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive because people they think that things closer to the bay or what are going to flood, but that's the last piece of our city that's now on the FEMA flood map, which is great and also something we got to work on.
Yeah, no, that's progress. I think that's fantastic. So,
yep, the people in the village don't like paying that FEMA though, and when we were trying to pass the flood free measure, they're like, we're happy to pay that. We're happy to pay another $85 a year if we don't have to pay $500 a year in flood insurance. And it's like, for now, you got to pay both. They're like, oh God, but I will tell you that if you don't start helping us with this, then, you're not coming off the other anytime soon. So, it's just bite the bullet and have to kind of live with it. But
yeah. Well, the other question I had for you is there any, because there's obviously in the San Mateo Sheriff right now, there's some controversy going on right there. Does San Mateo Police Department and the San Mateo Sheriff have any kind of overlap there? I mean,
well, yes and no. So the county of San Mateo has its own sheriff's department. Several of the cities in the county have don't have their own police force. They outsource it to the sheriff's department. And even like the city of Half Moon Bay just last year went from having their own police department to outsourcing it to the sheriff. And so, that's pretty common. I think Millbray's another, Belmont's another. These cities are, not small, but they're smaller, and it doesn't make sense to have the infrastructure. The city of San Mateo is the largest city in the county with 105,000 people. We have our own police department, and it's the largest police department. The next largest department in the county is the sheriff's. So there's that kind of symbiotic relationship, but but we are fortunate in San Mateo to have our own police force. That said, things that happen on the county level, like the morgue happens through there. A lot of the CSI and forensics types of things happen through the county. So there's still a huge partnership between the city of San Mateo or San Mateo PD and the county sheriff. And then, we share SWAT teams. So like our SWAT team is one of the largest, and we share with several others in the county. And then we all help each other out. So if something big, if there's a drug bust going on, it's not unheard of that some of the county sheriff's SWAT team are involved, and maybe South San Francisco SWAT team is helping out. They all work together. So that part is great about San Mateo County. And the weird thing with San Mateo County compared to the other cities is like we are not. So like if you look at San Francisco's got its own sheriff and its own police department, and it's got its own kind of anchor. It's San Francisco. If you look at San Jose or Santa Clara County, you have San Jose, which is its own anchor, city. But we're not a huge metropolitan city compared to those. We're a large suburb, maybe even beyond that, really. I mean, we're a pretty big city, but by Bay Area scale, we're not. And so it is interesting because we really are the premier police department in the county. We're the biggest one next to the sheriff's department. And so the chaos that's been going on at the sheriff's department is bad for everybody, and we're really hoping that we see changes. And it looks like, though, that they're going to have to do some sort of a special vote in March, which is going to cost a lot of money. I know they tried to get the sheriff to just take a payout and take a golden parachute and leave, and that was kind of controversial a few weeks ago, but it didn't work. So now we're all in it. And the other part is that, San Mateo also pays for the sheriff just like everybody else because it's the county sheriff. So, we all have to get out the vote when the initiative comes forward to give them the ability to make that change.
Yeah, that's a lot of great insight, Rob. I didn't even know all that. So thank you for sharing. Well, you know what? Those are all the tough questions I have for you. The way I like to leave off is kind of just like a little fun question. And so if you had guests coming into town, what restaurant would you take them to?
See, that's a brutal question for me because as the mayor now, I'm really angry when I pick favorites. I would say anywhere in our downtown is fantastic. But I mean, I do have some favorites like Central Park Bistro in downtown San Mateo is where my dad's been passed now almost 9 years, but my dad used to hang out there 2 days a week with his friends, and so that place has tons of memories for me. I think part of I'm not talking about food now, I'm talking about like experience of like, and so I love going to Central Park. The food is great too, so that doesn't hurt. But Porterhouse downtown is great. I'm not a big sushi person, but we as a city have more sushi and more boba places per capita than any other city on the peninsula. And Boba Day last year was a crazy first-time county phenomenon where we had buses of people come into downtown San Mateo to participate in Boba Day. Influencers from all over Northern California and beyond came in for Boba Day in San Mateo. So we'll definitely be having another Boba Day again this summer. And my daughters loved it. All their friends, they were all out there and on Instagram and TikTok and just but it's also funny to me because I'm always like, well, how much boba can you have? It seems like, I mean, like I get one and now I'm like, what am I going to have 3? It's, but it's a great event and it brings people into the city and it was fun. I have an old standby, which I don't know if I ever took you to, but La Fonda, which is a Mexican restaurant on El Camino Real, is great. It's more of a sit-down family style, and the same family has owned it for like 50 years, and they're really nice. And the food is great. It's quaint. I can go in there and just have a bowl of their tortilla soup. Just warms you up from the inside. And there's so many great. Anywhere on B Street you can get a taco or a burrito. I mean, the nice thing is we have so many choices. Sometimes it's difficult though because it's like There's too many choices. Also, you got to be careful when you get elected, because you don't want to put too much weight into one place or the other, because then everybody else says, what about us?
I have to apologize, Rob. That didn't even occur in my head that I might be getting you in trouble. I apologize.
But I mean, the San Mateo Chamber last year did something which they're going to do again this year, which was called the Best of San Mateo. And that event and that exercise was fantastic. I mean, they had thousands of people participate. And so if you'd like references or ideas, if you go to the San Mateo Chamber website, they have the best of, and people will tell you everything from the best barber to the best taco shop to the best boba tea place. And this year it's going to be even more amped up, because it was so successful last year at the first time that now there's people like, well, I wasn't even considered. So when that comes out, you'll have to make sure you network with people and tell them to get out and vote, so we know where the best places are. But
for sure, Rob.
Something I read today, which was very sad, was a very long-term establishment, Sushi Sam's, is going to be closing.
Oh, I did read about that.
Yeah, that's brutal. So Sushi Sam's is, again, I'm not even a sushi person, but it was one of the OGs of downtown San Mateo sushi. So we'll miss them for sure. And, hopefully someone will step in and fill the void. There'll be another, but not that we don't already have a ton of sushi. So, it's good.
Yeah. But we'll have tons of choices. Well, hey, Rob, you know what? Thank you very, very much for joining me. I hope to have you on again when you're not as busy, when things are a little more settled. And,
for sure, Bert. I appreciate it. It's great to do this, though.
Please tell Jen hi, and I hope you and the family have a wonderful holidays.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Happy holidays. All the best. It's great talking to you, man. Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks for doing this. Take care.